Hello guys! In this video, you'll learn how to auto-switch inside batch processing. Introduction. We have 3 diagrams to explain in this video. This series of diagrams explains how SKYVVA batch mode switching behavior works when processing inbound records. It shows how SKYVVA receives records, creates batch packages, detects when only a small number of records remain, and automatically changes the processing method based on the configured switching behavior. Diagram 1. Batch mode switching behavior configuration. Start from Step 1, Source System. The process starts from the source system. The process begins with the source system. The source can be a database, CSV, XML or JSON file, REST API, SOAP API, SAP, ERP, or any other external system. In this example, the source system sends 520 records to the SKYVVA integration for processing. Step 2. Interface configuration. Next, the records arrive at the interface configuration. Here, the interface is configured with batch mode enabled, a batch size of 100, and a record size to be switched of 20. These settings tell SKYVVA how many records should be included in each batch and when it should change the processing behavior. Step 3. Select the switching behavior. Before processing begins, SKYVVA checks which batch mode switching behavior has been selected. There are 3 available options: None, Dynamic switch based on record size, and Event processing based on record size. The selected option determines how the final remaining records will be processed once the switching condition is reached. Diagram 2. Batch mode switching behavior workflow. Step 1. Start processing records. After the interface configuration is complete, SKYVVA starts processing the 520 inbound records, using the configured batch size of 100. Step 2. Create batch packages. SKYVVA divides the records into packages based on the configured batch size. In this example, it creates Package 1, 100 records, Package 2, 100 records, Package 3, 100 records, Package 4, 100 records, Package 5, 100 records. For each package, SKYVVA checks whether the package size is greater than the configured record size to be switched, which is 20. Since 100 is greater than 20, SKYVVA creates a basket, batch, for each package. At this stage, the baskets are created only, and the switching behavior is not applied. After creating these 5 packages, 500 records have been grouped into batches, leaving 20 records remaining. Step 3. Check the final package. Before processing the remaining records, SKYVVA checks the remaining record count. The remaining records are 20, and the configured record size to be switched is also 20. Since 20 is less than or equal to 20, the switching condition is met. Instead of creating another normal batch, SKYVVA now applies the configured batch mode switching behavior to the final package. Diagram 3. Apply batch mode switching behavior. This diagram explains how SKYVVA processes the final package after the switching condition has been reached. Start from Section 1. You can see the first step is evaluate the remaining records. After all full batches have been created, SKYVVA checks the remaining record count. In this example, 20 records remain to be processed. The next step is compare with the record size to be switched. SKYVVA compares the remaining records with the configured record size to be switched. The configured threshold is 20, and the remaining records are also 20. Since 20 is less than or equal to 20, the switching condition is satisfied. The next step is apply the selected switching behavior. Because the switching condition has been met, SKYVVA applies the configured batch mode switching behavior to the final package. Section 2. Execute the selected action. Depending on the selected option, SKYVVA processes the final package in one of 3 ways. If dynamic switch is selected, the remaining 20 records are processed using normal processing instead of batch mode. If event processing is selected, SKYVVA creates the final basket and publishes it as an event for asynchronous processing. If none is selected, SKYVVA continues processing the remaining 20 records in batch mode, just like the previous batches. The next section is Key Points. The switching behavior applies only to the final package. SKYVVA first creates batches based on the configured batch package size, then checks whether the remaining record count is less than or equal to the record size to be switched value. If the condition is satisfied, the system applies the selected switching behavior to process the remaining records in the most efficient way. Here we are on the interface detail screen. In this video, we use the agent database adapter as an example. As you can see, we already have an existing inbound interface linked to an inbound agent database adapter and an inbound database message type. We have already completed the mapping. Please make sure you have also completed the mapping. Now scroll down to the batch section. Text batch mode. In this video, we'll focus only on auto switch in batch processing. We won't go into the batch settings in detail. If you'd like to learn more about the batch settings, be sure to check out our separate video on our YouTube channel. When batch mode is enabled, the system processes records in batches instead of processing them one by one. This helps improve performance and is recommended when you have a large number of records to process. In this example, there are 520 records stored in the database. In this example, we set batch package size to 100. If the batch package size is set to 100, the system will process up to 100 records in a single batch. After that batch is completed, it continues with the next batch until all records have been processed. Here you can see the batch mode switching behavior. Batch mode switching behavior determines when the system should automatically switch from normal processing to batch mode. Depending on the selected option, the system decides whether to continue with the current processing mode or switch to batch mode based on the configured conditions. In the pick list, you can see three options. When none is selected, the system always uses batch mode because batch mode is enabled. It does not automatically switch processing based on any conditions. All records are processed according to the configured batch package size. When a dynamic switch based on record size is selected, this option allows the system to automatically switch processing based on the number of records. The threshold is defined in the record size to be switched field. For the record size to be switched field, the default value is 50, but you can change it based on your requirements. Now we set it to 20. In this example, batch mode is enabled and the batch mode switching behavior is set to dynamic switch based on record size. The record size to be switched is set to 20 and the batch package size is set to 100. This means the system first checks how many records need to be processed. If there are fewer than 20 records, the system uses the normal processing mode. If there are 20 records or more, the system automatically switches to batch mode. In this example, we have 520 records in the database. When we start the processing, we expect the system to create 5 baskets because the batch package size is set to 100. Each basket contains 100 records. After the first 5 baskets are processed, only 20 records remain. Since the remaining record count matches the value configured in the record size to be switched field, the system automatically switches from batch mode to the normal processing mode. As a result, the remaining 20 records are processed using the normal processing mode instead of creating another batch. Now click Save. Go to the Agent Control Board tab. Select your inbound interface. Click on the Interface Processing button. After the processing is complete, go to the Batch Control Board tab to verify the results. As you can see, it created 5 baskets, and each basket contains 100 records, just as we expected. What about the remaining 20 records? Let's check the SKYVVA Message Monitor tab. Click the Apply Filter button. One complete message containing 20 records has been created here, just as we expected. Now, let's check the result on the Salesforce side. Here are the 20 records that were sent from the database. Now go back to the interface detail screen. Now we have shown what happens when the record size to be switched value is smaller than the batch package size value. What happens when we set the record size to be switched value equal to or greater than the batch package size value? Now, let's see. Now we change the value of record size to be switched to 100. In this example, batch mode is enabled, the batch package size is set to 100, and the batch mode switching behavior is set to dynamic switch based on record size. The record size to be switched is also set to 100. This means the system checks the remaining number of records before creating the next batch. If the remaining number of records is equal to or greater than the batch package size, the system automatically switches to the normal processing mode. So, in this example, you can see that we set the record size to be switched value equal to the batch package size value. We expect that, when the processing is complete, all 520 records in the database will be sent to Salesforce using normal processing. Now go to the Agent Control Board tab. Let's start the processing. After the processing is complete, go to the Message Monitor tab. Click on the Apply filter. See? 6 complete messages have been created here. This means that 5 messages each contain 100 records, and 1 message contains the remaining 20 records. Go to see the result in Salesforce. Here, you can see that we received the records in Salesforce as expected. Now go back to the interface screen. Now we have shown what happens when the record size to be switched value is equal or greater than the batch package size value. Now, let's look at the batch mode switching behavior picklist. We have another option called event processing based on record size. The next option is event processing based on record size. This option allows the system to switch from batch mode to event processing based on the configured record size. We won't go into the details in this video because we have a separate video on our YouTube channel that explains how it works. Now you have seen how auto switch inside batch processing works and how each switching behavior processes the remaining records differently based on your configuration. Auto switch inside batch processing is designed to improve the efficiency of your integration process. Instead of always processing every record in the same way, the system can automatically choose the most appropriate processing mode based on the settings you configure. This gives you more flexibility to optimize your processing according to your business requirements. For example, if only a small number of records remain, you can configure the system to switch to normal processing instead of creating another batch. This helps avoid creating unnecessary batches for just a few records, reducing processing overhead and improving overall performance. If your business scenario requires event processing, you can configure the system to automatically switch to event processing when the configured record size is reached. This allows the remaining records to be processed using event-based processing without any manual intervention. Because the switching is automatic, you don't need to monitor the processing or manually decide when to change the processing mode. Once the configuration is complete, the system handles the switching for you, making your integration process more efficient, more flexible, and easier to manage. That's all for this video. I hope this video helps you understand how auto switch inside batch processing works and how to configure it based on your business requirements. Summary. In this video, we've learned how auto switch inside batch processing works and how to configure it based on your processing requirements. We explored the different batch mode switching behavior options, demonstrated how the system switches between batch mode and normal processing based on the configured settings, and explained when each option should be used. We also briefly introduced event processing based on record size, which is covered in a separate video. By using auto switch inside batch processing, you can optimize performance, reduce unnecessary processing, and make your integrations more efficient and flexible. That's all for this video. I hope this tutorial helps you better understand how to configure auto switch inside batch processing for your business requirements. Thanks for visiting our YouTube channel. See you in the next video.